We've pushed the button. I'm live on the internet, live from Las Vegas and Trick Supply. And look who is here. Jordan Rooks is in the house. Rooks, right?
Rooks.
With an S.
That's right.
Realizing some of the audience might not know who Jordan Rooks is, we took the time to load up.
One who will deign to bring himself here to perform magic, Jordan Rooks.
And let's try and be semi-professional about this. Hold on one sec. We're going to get there. Bang. Jordan Rooks, welcome to Trick Supply.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to our live stream. So let's get started here. You are a professional performing magician
And consultant.
and consultant
And now author.
and now author. And we're going to talk about that. We have Jordan's new book here on the table. You live in Las Vegas, and
For at least half the year. I'm touring the other half of the year. But yeah, I moved to Vegas 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
And then started working with some of the headliners in Las Vegas. And now I teach at the Jeff McBride Magic and Mystery School for the past decade.
Flex much?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you spend your free time teaching for Jeff McBride, but we were talking right before the stream started. You've worked for some really serious luminaries in this city, the likes of David Copperfield and Xavier Mortimer. Like you don't get more magic famous than this. A little bit about David. What did you do in the Copperfield universe?
Well, with the NDA that I signed, a lot of secret projects that I can't mention.
Next subject.
But I mostly worked on the archiving all of his collection of the Alba collection that he bought 30 years ago.
Oh
It was
yeah.
like 900 boxes that we unboxed.
This was really the origin story of what is now the museum.
The museum. I was there with when we were taking photos of the History of Magic book that was released on the market, and lots of other fun, cool stuff.
Yeah. So we learn you get an NDA, you can't talk about much about it after that. That's fine. David Copperfield's universe is a unique one. So you were there for what, a couple of years?
Yeah, I was there for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right before the pandemic, I split ways at the end of 2019.
Yeah.
And then I was a stagehand for the Hard Rock before it closed because I wanted to learn the back end of like production. So I learned lighting and sound.
At the Hard Rock Cafe,
Casino.
The Hard Rock Casino, you were employed as just a stage production crew.
Hand, and then I was on call, and then they learned that I could learn super fast.
Yeah.
So they're like, we want you to learn sound first.
Yeah.
And then they wanted me to learn lighting, and then they were going to train me even further for stage management, and then they're like, yeah, we're closed. So I'm like, I had a crash course within that year before the pandemic, and then they closed down. And I was already touring Fringe Festival, so that was an easy job to like come home to. And then they were like, oh, well, when you're on tour, just come pick up a band and just load in, load out, and you can meet the bands and go to the shows and do magic for them if you want.
So there was a variety of shows at this venue.
Correct.
Was there any magic shows at the time?
So there was no
Hard Rock.
There was no magic shows at the time.
Yeah.
They had two different venues. They had like the Vault and then the Rating the Right Vault. And this is bands like, Push came. I saw Johnny Depp there and met Tim Burton there, which was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was like Mike Epps. There was a lot of comedians. So I was friends with, before he passed away, one of my dearest friends, Amazing Jonathan, here in town. So he, as you know, was like a magic comedian.
Yep.
Right. He kind of used magic as like a parody.
Right.
And through him, he was like, you should try doing even just straight up comedy, stand up comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a couple of years ago at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, I did like my magic show, but then I did a 45-minute stand-up comedy show just by that.
Nice.
So-
That's a challenge, huh? Doing just stand up.
Yeah, because I'm a prop guy. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
if you're
"Yeah,
used
no
to
props."
relying on the magic tricks. So you've mentioned Fringe a few times here, and that's become kind of your forte as a professional performer. Would you say so?
Yeah, so I've been doing Fringes for over the past decade. It's probably been 12, 13 years now, Fringe festivals.
Right. Yeah.
I've done like over 85 Fringes
That's
in my career.
So you travel not just nationally, but internationally doing
Internationally.
Fringe festival events.
Yeah, I've performed in over 10 different countries.
10 countries.
I think last year I clocked 10 different Fringes. This year I'm at like 8 or 9.
Great.
From Fiji to Australia to Edinburgh, Scotland, which is the big Fringe festival.
Yes, indeed.
Barcelona.
Will you be at Edinburgh this year?
I'm not going to be in Edinburgh this year,
Mhm.
just because I will be in Edmonton, Canada,
All right.
and then New York during that whole month. And then
Let's talk about this, because I asked you right before the show if you had any events coming up. You said in May there's something. Let me point the viewers over here to the San Diego Internet. It's the San Diego
Fringe Fest.
International Fringe Festival. We've got your show here pulled up, which is Oz, the Magic Parody Show. This is making its world premiere in May,
Yeah.
and you'll be there for what, 10 days?
I'll be there for 10 days. I have like 5 shows. The thing with Fringe festivals, which is like, I love Fringe festivals because it is literally a place for all artists. Like if you're a performer, especially, magicians on this channel, like it is a place to do a show. It's a place that if you either do a lottery or you four-wall the venue, you get a tech, you get a space, and you get to do a show. A lot of those Fringes are adult only. So like 85 to 95% of those shows are just for adults. So like a couple of my favorite shows are like Abracadabra, Biot, and like, Drunk to Magic, or, Colin Cloud has like Mastermind.
Right.
Some of those are really, or like in the Insane Magic guys that tour a lot of like the UK Fringes and the Australia. So I decided to go the opposite end and target niche mine to be family friendly.
Yeah.
Because I figured like, well, there is a niche for families. It's not like a kiddie show, like a Barney or Blippy or like the Wiggles, but it's an adult show that kids can watch. So in Vegas, we have like Matt King, we have, Matt Franco, not
Mhm.
like the Chris Angel and Copperfield are kind
Right.
of more adult
Right.
only, 17 and up.
You go to like a Mike Hammer and
You go to
get
Mike
blasted.
Hammer.
Yeah. But, yeah, you can go see Mac at 3:00 on a Saturday and bring your kids, and everyone's happy about that.
And
yeah.
have fun, right? I'm okay being the good guy everyone wants to laugh at, and it's
Right.
not like so intense in your face.
Yeah.
Love the other guys, but for me, I needed to carve out. And then I found like with Fringes, you need like a niche, because these are shows that you only see at a Fringe festival. So that's kind of the idea of Fringe. That's wacky. You might see a girl dressed up in a chicken suit doing a show about Trump and the family. You don't ever know. So I was like, well, these parodies, people love parody shows. So I took shows that people have watched even as adults, as kids, and that they love and have something special to their heart.
Like Wizard of Oz.
Like Wizard of Oz.
Right.
I was kind of telling you before this, like I didn't even know about Wicked or the success of Wicked.
Yeah.
And
What kind of theater kid are you?
I know.
You're embarrassing yourself. You shouldn't have even said that.
I know. But then I agreed to do this Wizard of Oz thing, and then that came out, and I'm like, oh. And then it was like, it's gonna come out with part 2 next year, and I'm like, yes.
Oh yes.
So
There's
I'm
still
like,
time to cash in.
There's still time to cash in on this parody thing. I'm gonna love it.
I think the Wizard of Oz is good for eternity, maybe with that skit.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take what and it also gives me a chance, because a lot of magicians, they just do trick, and they just, there's nothing wrong with that. And
But there is, though, kind of.
yeah, because it's not.
No, we need drama, conflict, some emotional attachment to our routines and giving our audience a reason to care.
Exactly. And I think, my niche is that because these parody shows, they already give you a reason to care because you're invested in the parody and the original.
So that's a good place to start, maybe, for let's just start here talking about where to start, because you literally have wrote the book on this subject. We have it here in my hands today. Look at this. This is How to Succeed in Fringe Theater by Jordan Rooks. So When you were here last week and you mentioned that you had penned the book on this subject, I was instantly interested in having you come on to talk about it because I've been interested in Fringes for years, really. I do believe what you're saying. It's a great venue for variety artists to get out and develop their shows and be seen. But over the last 2 years, I've made zero headway in this because I don't know what to do, Maybe if I had a guide, I'd been a little further along than zero at this point.
Exactly. And I think, especially with like Edinburgh and Adelaide, which are the two biggest, they are beasts in their own, right? So there's, a couple like pamphlets and guides to just do Edinburgh.
Okay.
But even that's not enough.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is just going out there and doing it. A lot of people don't even think about like, I'm going to put on the show. What about the budgeting? What about the staging? What's my goal for a show? Like what's my goal for my career? And they don't know, which it's okay not to know. But this book is like a guidebook of like a plan. Because I think once you get the plan, you have an idea of going into it instead of just raw dogging it, going in blind.
Which is always the way to go. You need short attainable goals to be successful. That's my motto, right?
Yeah.
You set the goal, you see the vision, you go get that thing.
And with Fringes, there's like in the book I have 7 different goals just of your show.
Okay.
So if you go in there and you're like, oh, I didn't make $20,000, I didn't make any money, I lost money. Well, was that your goal? Then you got to change your strategy for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Most people do these festivals, lose a lot of money, and then they just give up.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's because you didn't set that primary goal.
Yeah.
And there are other goals. Did you achieve this? Well, your show was successful. It's just a different way of thinking with a goal. And then this also talks about venues, because Fringe festivals, you could be performing at a pub, a bar,
venues.
You could be at a black box theater,
or street
performing.
Yeah, because a lot of buskers will just show up to Fringe festivals and throw down, right?
Absolutely.
Are they generally open to just having people busk the Fringe? Like,
so some of the festivals, the big ones always do, and there's like sign-up slots.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them that they're always open to it.
Yeah.
The festival wants art.
It's kind of the vibe, right?
It's kind of the vibe.
Yeah.
Some of them that you actually sign up, it's like a separate little Fringe. It's like the busking Fringe.
Yeah.
Simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But they love Fringes because like there's entertainment outside, there's entertainment outdoors.
But you could expect to be more so in a lottery situation with an assigned spot than maybe standard busking where it's just willy-nilly
show up
first
and
come.
do their
Yeah.
thing.
So
and every Fringe is different.
Everyone's different.
So that's the best thing is like they all have their own little. Fringe has always been a community and a family.
Yeah.
No matter where you go.
Yeah.
Obviously they cater to their local markets always and their local artists because that's the chunk of their thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're always welcoming to like international artists, touring national artists, and you get to see a lot of different entertainment and different styles, which is something I love. Like there might be shows that I'm like, I'll see it no matter what.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that show wasn't for me.
Right.
But I do see these fans that love that kind of art, and I'm like, I can appreciate art.
Yeah.
No matter what. So
you'll see a puppetry or sometimes a juggler or sometimes, magicians doing magic about suicide. I don't know.
You never know. Suicide,
Let me bring up the link here. Your book was just released on Amazon, and it's doing pretty good right out of the gate here. You are the #1 title in, I guess, stagecraft. So I have linked this book in the description of the video, and you will find it on Amazon. How to Succeed in Fringe Theater. Go down in the description. You'll find the live link there. You'll also find the link to Jordan's Instagram, where he's doing pretty good with 100,000 so followers there. And we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. But
so the coolest thing with this book is like, because I have the magic background, I learned clowning from a cirque director. I have a comedy background and the theater background. I wanted to create a book that wasn't just for magicians. It was for any artist, anyone from, elementary school to high school to on and on to, 100 years old to be able to like read this book and just give it a go and try. So this is more of a theater book and like crafting theater instead of just like the standard magic book, because I wanted to expand my market and also like just open it to all artists, not just pigeonhole it there.
Love it, and absolutely love that interested artists have an avenue now to learn more about this wonderful style to showcase your artwork.
Is there any other Fringes that I would recommend over others? I just saw a guy in the comments
So yeah, we got questions coming in, and if you have any, Jordan is reading them. My eyesight's too bad to see all today.
Yeah.
So yeah, where do we go to do some cool fringes?
So I would always say wherever you're located at, find the big. It's probably in one of your main like capital cities, but just type in like if you're from like Iowa, type in Iowa Fringe Festival. I'm pretty sure there's one in Des Moines. But every major city usually will have a fringe festival attached to it. It's usually a 10-day time frame, whether it's 10 days straight or 2 weeks split up. Go local. Find your local community, your local home. It's not an available ebook at this time, but I'm creating it to be that.
We got the hot release. You got to get the print
So you
copy
gotta get
for
the
now.
It's a lot better to get the print copy too, just because like it's visual and you can like write in the book. I've specifically put extra pages so you can take notes in the book. For your own self, for your own.
It's always
shows.
better to have the print copy.
Yeah, and then my influences were always Jeff McBride. I didn't know too much of David Copperfield when I moved here.
Yeah.
I got into magic because of Michael Close.
Yeah.
And so
You mentioned Michael Close. I asked you, like, how'd you get started in magic? Tell that story briefly again. What's the deal with you and Mike Close?
So Michael's now a great friend. So before my 13th birthday, the day before my 13th birthday, he was doing table magic at like a local restaurant in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I'm from. And he did card work where he folded a card in half, took a bill, and then pushed it, and it went inside and out. And as like the 12-year-old kid I was like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? And he was like, I can't tell you, I'm a magician. So pissed off now, a 13-year-old went home and I destroyed 2 decks of cards, which was all my family had. And I went back on my birthday. That was my birthday wish. And I said, Mr. Magician, watch this. And I folded the card straight in half and pushed it straight to the bill. And he was like, how in the world did you do that?
You fooled Mike
And I
Close.
fooled Mike Close with the card work.
That's killer. And to see him in his prime and either been Max and Irma's or Illusions
Yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah, and then he started taking me to like the magic meetings in Indianapolis with the
Wow.
local IB, and then Magi Fest.
That's a pretty good introduction to magic, Mike Close. If you don't know Mike Close, I guess he hasn't been as prolific as he was when I was coming up in magic. I grabbed a couple titles. We actually have some great sale items. I'm going to mention a few today, but here at the shop, and this is as archaic as magic information gets, but look, it's only $5 for Mike Close on CD-ROM, and I'm going to really highly recommend any student that has a CD-ROM drive that still works. Get this Closely Guarded Secrets. Man, there's some killer routines on here. His version of the cheating lesson, the shuffles routine with the gags, all the gags.
So
in
you're
here.
actually going to see one of those tricks in my new show. It's called the magnetized cards.
Oh, the Gary Plants.
Yeah, that's a great trick. You can like have all the
Mhm.
cards picked and then like lift them up, and everyone's like, wait,
Yeah.
where is it? Like, that's a great trick.
So, and then there's Mike Close's worker books, which also have the card warp routine in it. I actually did that routine and had some work on it, inspired by Mike's wonderful stuff through the years. While I'm talking about sales items, I did make a recent commitment. Every week, I'm just going to briefly mention, I want to start spotlighting a DVD because we are the last remaining people, the magicians that watch DVDs. I don't know too many people are actively buying them, but I grabbed a couple titles off the shelf to help pay some bills here at Trick Supply. And if you are one of the magi that still use this medium, today we're talking about John Carney's Videos of Secrets, which you'll get to see John showcase routines from his professional work. Familiar with John Carney?
John Carney is fantastic.
Yeah, I was looking at the contents on here before. Like, I'll give you one each that's worth the price. On this one, it has his Miser's Dream routine, which I think it's just 6 coins, and fill a stage with John Carney's Miser's Dream routine. And then the one here that I really like is his version of the Rossini thimble routine, where they fly across which was really the first version of fingertip across.
Yeah.
Everyone says it's 3 fly, but the first fingertip across was the Paul Rossini thimbles. 5 on this hand, jump to this hand, and no one does it better than John Carney, like everything John does.
We just had John on the Mystery School Monday at Jeff's class.
Was he here?
He was well, he zoomed in.
Oh, he was a Zoom.
But still, yeah, he's great.
So these are linked in the description.
Get those.
You
It's
do yourself a treat and check those out. But let's talk just a minute about what you're doing with Jeff. So what's happening with Jeff McBride over at the Mystery School?
So Jeff obviously teaches these master classes where students, even Matt Franco came when he was a young guy.
Oh yeah.
Shin
Mhm.
Lim, David Copperfield takes notes from. So we teach all these magicians from beginner to expert, and there's 7-day classes. There's
It's a
spring trainings
7-day.
of your routines. Like you can come in with your routine, your set, and then we'll critique it, and then the students will critique it, and then as a student, as you're giving notes to a performer and you're getting the expert notes back,
Mhm.
you learn from giving other people's notes, right? So
How many magi are there for one of these?
so about 16 for the master classes.
16. All right.
We have like
Enough,
magic
but
and meeting. There's
not too
enough.
many. But
No, we want to
yeah.
keep it nice and intimate and personal,
Mhm.
so that way we can really focus on you. And we teach a couple standard curriculum things,
Yeah.
and then obviously because Jeff sees so many students every year,
Right.
we have to change up the curriculum every year
Yeah.
and make it newer and fresher. And sometimes people come just as a refresher course, right?
Okay.
Like to get back into it, to get that motivated. And it's also like because we tailor it to you, like anything you want to learn,
Mm-hmm.
we have, or we can get it to you within like a day, which is
Yeah, I haven't had the luxury of perusing Jeff's magical space there, but I've
Yes.
heard rumors that's just crazy cool. Let me just showcase this link for a minute if you're not familiar with the Magic Mystery School. Well, where you been? It's Jeff McBride, for God's sake. But
Right.
this is what's going down and explore magic with master teachers. There's a lot happening here. I know he has an online thing that he does every week.
every week,
Yeah,
every Monday.
every week. And is that a members only thing or is it?
So the first Monday of every month is open for everybody. You can
Yeah.
come check it out. And then the next 3 or 4, depending on the month, is members only. It's only like $25-$50 to sign up.
Yeah,
If
that's
you-
super reasonable.
And if you do the $100 market,
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot, but it actually we give a $100 gift certificate for a scholarship fund. So if you can't afford it, or if you know someone that can't afford it that really wants to go, they can apply for a scholarship to come, because we all obviously know you have to pay for a hotel, you have to pay for a flight.
Yeah,
and
right.
it can get expensive.
Yeah, it does that up
Um,
in Vegas too.
So the people that pay the $100, and also there's an archive of every single episode that we've
Oh,
ever done. So there's so many
value.
topics.
Yep.
Yeah. Over like 500 different videos.
Yeah, I was on one of those a year or two ago. I zoomed in myself for a McBride chat about something or another.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are all the events we're looking at. There's the master class. Jeff does private teaching, story magic mastermind, unlock your voice. So much to learn from McBride and the Mystery School. How often are you over there doing that with Jeff? Is it just for the master classes or?
So I see him there. I see him at the weekly meeting.
Oh yeah, I saw him there Wednesday. How
You
great
saw him
is
there
that?
Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm just when I first got to town, one of my highlights, I was at the Wonderground show, and within 10 minutes of sitting down, I got Jeff McBride at my table doing walk around magic. I'm like, I have found my home.
And the
For
crazy
sure.
thing is, like, when you think about magic and magic books and everything like that, right? So I'll tell everybody, like, if you want to have a career in magic, buy the Tarbell set. If you have that set, you can have a career. One of my favorite books on top of the Tarbell set is his Show Doctor book. So,
I've had people recommend that book, and every time we get it in, it flies right off the shelf. I haven't read the Show Doctor book, but I've heard from many accomplished magicians it is outstanding.
absolutely. Let's see if there's any more questions.
Yeah, I think if you do have any questions about the Fringe market or Las Vegas magic, but I would love to hear questions from the Fringe side of things.
Yeah. So, and the coolest thing is, like, because magicians, right? Artists are always kind of cliquey,
Yeah,
just with artists as a whole.
Yeah.
I like meeting other artists that are comedians, that are dancers, that are
yeah,
musicians, because I get inspiration from all the other art forms and I combine them together. That's why I studied martial arts. That's why I studied languages. That's why I started, clowning and comedy. My favorite Fringe festival and why, I really liked. Oh, there's so many.
we're doing questions here. Lisa says, "What's your favorite Fringe and why?"
My favorite Fringe are the ones that you come see me at, because
Yeah,
it is all about with Fringe festivals. They are absolutely all about the family. I started at the Indianapolis, Indiana Fringe Festival because that's my home. That's my alma mater. I could bring in friends and family.
mm-hmm.
I really love touring though. So my first most memorable Fringe was a couple of years ago. My mom always wanted to go to Fiji when I was a kid.
Yeah,
The islands of Fiji.
Sure.
So I was touring these Fringe festivals, like, I wonder.
Mhm.
So I reached out and I was like Googling, I was like, Fiji Fringe Festival. And it was just happened to be their first year performing this this festival they were putting it on, and I was like, do you need a magician from Las Vegas? And they were like, we would love a
Yes.
performer from Las Vegas.
Right.
And so I was like, this is a great tax write-off to get my mom's dream, you know, and she was really one of the main pushers of my career. So it was a really nice, humbling thing to like bring her along and put her in my show, which she didn't learn until like the first show. And it was really
So now her
humbling.
her trip's a tax write-off
Her
too.
trip and tax write-off. So probably Fiji Friends was one of my
Fiji.
favorites.
What was your first one? What was the first Fringe that you did?
So my first Fringe was the Indianapolis Fringe Festival.
Indianapolis? Yeah.
Again, I was also looking for like tax write-offs to go home.
Yeah,
I
okay.
was like, you know, Indy had been there. I think I started in 2013. It was my first Indie Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
And it was kind of just like, what is this about? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're a what they call in the UK a punter, where you're just going to see shows.
Yeah.
It was like it's a performance arts festival, right? Anything goes. You can see whatever, and local artists were like, hey, you should come see the show in Indianapolis. I'm like, it's like $20 a ticket. That's better than $100 tickets, right? So
it is a great value to go see these shows at a reasonable price point.
Yeah.
And really see some like the variety artists are masterful.
yeah,
Right.
like, so like Tape Face, right? If you see Tape Face, who's going to be in Edinburgh this year,
Mm.
like his tickets are like 12 quid, 12 bucks, 15
Right.
bucks. And like here, you come see him in here, it's like 60 to 80 bucks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So the amount of talent you can
Case
see
in
is
point.
amazing.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, right. It's a great if you can. So I always wanted to travel. That was my goal. And you know, I'm 33 years old, single, no kids. So I wanted to find a career that I could travel and make money and do what I'd love. Magic has always been a lifestyle to me. I live it, I breathe it. I don't
Yes,
even
sir.
watch TV.
Testify.
Like I think I watched Squid Games, and that was the last thing.
Yeah,
I've ever
I'm the same way. I don't turn the TV on. My wife will, and I'll watch things with her sometimes. But if I'm home on my own, it's all about magic. you
Yeah.
know?
And then the
Just a-
culture of magic in different cities is different too. Like
Yeah.
you think about like Chicago, that's the close-up guys. You think,
Right.
you know, the Europeans, their comedy is more involved with their magic.
Yep. Yeah.
So I can kind of pull things from my experiences,
Yeah.
you know, without like ripping them off, because
Mhm.
no one wants a carbon copy of another performer. That's dumb. And also with the kind of magic I like to do, like I was telling you earlier, like there's magic tricks where you can buy it, you learn the script, it's great, you only do that routine.
Yeah.
I like buying magic tricks that are tools that I can use this tool to make other things happen and make it my own. So, and I think,
This sounds like we might have a segue into a performance piece.
oh, would you
There's
like this?
there's this bag that may or may not have some magical things to it, and I would absolutely love if you'd share a little bit of magic. with
Well,
us.
so I believe that magic is for people of all ages. You know, it's not just for the kids,
Yeah.
right, Doc? And in this bag, I have a bag of wishes.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
nice.
You, my friend, are how old? You've been doing this for quite some time. You said you're
Well, in human years, 55.
You're 55. Okay, so I have a bag of wishes right here.
Oh.
Now, on the count of 3, Doug, I want
Yeah.
you to just name a card. Ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
4
Candles.
diamonds. 4 diamonds. What'd you say?
I said candles. I get it. Sometimes you have to. I said this is a bag of wishes, Doug.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
in this deck of cards, I have things that people wish for and wish on. So, like, you see, I have like friend.
friend.
I have 1111, right? I have world peace. Some people wish for world peace. Some people wish for success. The kids all wish for, you know, candy, right? Or on a wishing well, right? Doug, you said the face of the card, didn't you? You said the 4.
Mistakenly, I just wished for the 4 of
The
diamonds.
4 of diamonds.
I should have wished for world peace, but I didn't know.
It happens. You said the 4 of diamonds, and
Yeah.
I said
Did you say candles?
candles.
Get out of here. Candles.
But I did say that I have a bag of wishes, and in here I do have one other thing, my friend, and that is a set of candles
Yeah.
and nothing else. And here's the crazy thing: on here has 56, which is perfect for your next birthday.
Look at that. It's my birthday. My next birthday. Jordan, that's killer. So this is a good example of combining, I guess, a few tools.
A few tools and a couple of my own little inventions. A couple of these tools you have for sale
I
at
know.
Trick Supply.
One of them I'd foreshadowed because Jordan said, "Hey, do you have any of the fill decks?" And I'm like, "Boy, do we! We have a few versions of this." So what you just saw in action, and thanks for getting this plug in for us, plus the entertainment.
Right?
This is Trevor Duffy's, and I guess also Max Maven or Phil Goldstein, as he was known when he released this. Wonder why he put this one. I guess because of Phil, right?
Yeah.
Phil Goldstein.
Phil deck.
The Phil deck. Yeah. This is a version of Oscar, I think. And Phil had this application for the, can't really say too much about it. You'll have to buy the Phil deck if you, want, if you want the inner workings. There was another piece to this puzzle. I guess we can mention, yeah, we'll mention it.
Yeah, it's up to you.
It's this thing. This is the Swami Thumb Writer, which you may or may not be able to figure out how something like this might make a birthday prediction work.
Yeah.
Thumb Writer.
It's great. I like, things like this you can do anywhere, anytime, and it's personalized to each person, right? Plus,
Yeah.
I love, Jeff also had a book called Gift Magic, and that book really inspired me because it's like, people.
I've seen him lecture on that subject matter. Yes,
Yeah.
giving people really a magical gift and becoming instantly memorable. In doing so.
Well, because people will remember their name, they'll
Yep.
remember their birthday and how old they are,
Yep.
and then they'll remember what they felt and like if the experience or the gift that you give them. So knowing that I give this away to every single show,
Oh
show
yeah.
person, I've had someone go the next year and be like, "We took one out for our birthday, but we kept the packaging."
Yeah,
I'm like,
nice.
"Oh." And then with like that tool and with this deck, the coolest thing with this deck and the fill deck is this is a blank one, so you can fill it in with anything.
Yeah, I've had a couple of these in my life. I did a matrix number force, so it's like any card at any number where supposedly they pick the number, but it's written on the back of the card.
Yeah.
And you force the number, which appears to be free, and now it's a freely chosen number and a freely chosen card. So that was an approach for me. And like you said, this is a utility gimmick that you can use with some amount of flexibility. This book has some ideas too. It comes with a little instruction book for it. So
Yeah.
yay, commercialism. We're getting some done here at Trick Supply. Hey, without that, we don't get to do this here. We're going to end up like over in Sunset Park broadcasting on crappy Wi-Fi, So, all right. So like maybe a couple hot tips for someone that wants to enter the fringe market before we leave this subject and leave the stream. What have we been going here? About 30-ish minutes. It's about what I'd look to do.
So first off, buy the book. It's $20.
Well, there you go. You can do that. You got all the tips.
Buy the book. It's a good starting place of like what do you want with your career? What do you want with your art?
Mm-hmm.
What are genuinely your goals? And it's like a blueprint of like how to think about things, whether it's the marketing, it's the budgeting, what venues are you? Because sometimes you'll play in like a 1,000-seat venue,
yeah,
and then you realize like I'm better in like a 300-seat venue or 200.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there are perfectly great shows, and they're better because they're in a 50-seat venue,
right?
Or they're in a black box.
Like that's what I'm interested in right now. I want a small, intimate space to do what I do best. I don't want to be in 1,000 seats with fog and lighting and zippity doo dah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people like that in a 700-seat venue, and I'm like, oh, you need a smaller venue,
yeah,
because it costs more to get those bigger venues. Also, timing and just the stress of everything. It's like if you don't have a manager and a producer and a PR person, like all of this is covered in the book. But like, if you don't have those and you don't have the financial to do it up front, this book is a way to plan, at least if you don't have that tool with you, how to like get around it or to make the best of your festivals as you possibly can.
Yes, indeed.
I think the biggest thing with fringe festivals is start local, start in your local market. Or if you find a place that you want to travel to, look at that travel place and see if they have a fringe festival around, see what time it is, book it, get your show together.
What should I have? Like, do I need a sizzle reel like you had for YouTube, or a video of the show, or the marketing materials in general? What's a good starting?
So you want to show that the most important thing is the poster.
The poster. Right?
You want to look at a poster and like know exactly, like that one, like exactly what that Houdini poster is.
Yeah.
Master Mystifier. He's about to be buried alive.
Mm-hmm.
Some show posters, you'll see it and it'll either be too much information,
mm-hmm.
and like you have to think people see 30 to 100, maybe 5,000 posters in Edinburgh.
Mhm.
And if they're just walking by, what's going to make your poster stand out above every other poster? If you can't look at a poster and know exactly what that show's about
Mhm.
within 5 seconds, it's a wasted opportunity.
So
of
this
marketing.
is selling the show to the public. I'm curious about selling the show to the event planners. Like if I want to get into the Fringe, is
Yeah.
that also an important thing? Or you could like say, here's my concept, very simple. Here's the poster.
So-
and then what else would I need for them?
Yeah. So there's 2 different types of Fringe festivals.
Mhm.
There is lottery Fringe festivals,
Yep.
where it's literally you put the name of your show, or some people put TB determined.
Right.
I hate it when people do that. But they do, and then they just pull the names out of the hat, and then you can literally do whatever you want with the show.
Yeah.
And then there's like one of my favorites is like New York festivals, where it's like it, and same with Edinburgh, same with Adelaide, where it's venue curated. So
Mhm.
the venues will pick it.
Yeah.
And so they'll get a list of like 50 to 100 to 200 shows, and then they will pick the shows that they think
They
is best
want.
for their audiences and they're wanting.
Okay.
My biggest thing with Fringe is literally for all. So if the crazier your idea or the more unique the idea,
Mhm.
the more that they're going to be like, yes, that's a
And
Fringe
what's
show.
a time frame I should plan for that? Like, you know, a year ahead, 6 months. Like if I was going to go to Texas to do a Fringe, I should submit my ideas
Well, most Fringe festivals, you have to plan 6 months
Si-
minimum ahead.
6 months
Because-
minimum.
Because and they're all different,
Yeah.
but they have a lot of deadlines,
Yeah.
you know, from the
Because they got to promote the shows.
They've gotta
You know,
promote
they got to
the
know who's
shows,
going to
they've
be
gotta
there.
do-
Mhm.
and sometimes they'll do when the lotteries, they'll be like, oh, the deadline is December, but we're not going to pick until April.
Yeah.
And then the shows go on sale in September. And so you have to plan all of that marketing. And then also
Yeah.
some festivals will pay you like at the very end. Edinburgh, I did the first 2 weeks of Edinburgh,
Mhm.
and I didn't get paid till November. And so you got to be financially aware of like,
Mhm.
you might not get paid right away
Right.
unless you're like a street busker.
Yeah.
So you always want to plan, like I am 6 months out in advance now.
Yeah.
Like I'm booked until October, and then in every month I'm going to be booked out. I'm one of the crazy ones. I always say start with one festival at a year. Like don't go rampant full page. I'm one of the rare breeds that does Fringe festivals professionally. Like I said, I've done over like 85 Fringe festivals in my decade, and it's like it's a grind for me. But start with one.
Yeah.
See how you like it, and then see what worked. Film your shows. Always film your shows. Always film your shows. Pro tip. And then go look at the shows, figure out what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and why. And then if you like that festival, if you like the vibe of it and the community of it, try it again. You know, or try a different one. Watch how the show changes and is different
Hmm.
just by the audiences and just by the demographics, and then just by doing the show over and over again. Because Fringe is really a place that you can book 3 shows, you can book 5 shows, 7 shows, 10 shows, and then you can book 25 shows. And after that 25th show, your show is so tight,
Right.
like
No, I've had, you know, my main interest in the Fringe was in developing a theatrical experience for a more professional venue. And I think the Fringe market is ideal for that, to take an idea from, you know, beginning and curate it, you know, maybe at a smaller Fringe and then build it up a little bit. And, you know, maybe you're doing 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and then maybe a year later, you're now a competent performer because you've done 30 or 80 Fringe festivals, and now you're ready to go into really, you know, a nice theatrical environment. Maybe.
Yeah, I always say this a couple things. So Edinburgh Fringe, there's like 75% entertainers that go that are just comedians that want to be like the next like Jimmy Carr or
Yeah.
so don't ever go into now. There's a couple rare exceptions like Six, you know, there's Stomp. There's the guy that did Baby Reindeer on Netflix, which was just happening.
Sure.
So there are exceptions, you know, Colin Cloud, Piff the Magic Dragon, Tate Base, they all came from the Fringe circuit. Not everybody comes from that circuit, but they've been doing it year after year after year after, and then they've, you know, worked really hard to build up their brand. Don't ever start doing Fringes for the money. Do it, and you never didn't start Magic for the money, right? You started Magic because you loved it.
Yep.
It was entertaining. You could connect with your audience and just really build that wonder. So whatever your reasons for doing the festival, there are a lot of different reasons in my book to do it. I highly recommend in my book that you should definitely try it, but don't make the first goal for money ever. Do it because you love it. If it is a loss, you're always, and Jeff McBride taught me this like at the first time, and so did Eugene. I will always be a student of my art. Every show is a learning opportunity. So if you choose to do Fringe festivals, which I highly recommend, at least one, learn from it, grow from it, and just love it, and just know that it's a blessing because you get to do what you love for a living.
I think this is where we wrap up. We're not going to hear more pure or better words than that. Do it for the love. If the money comes, good for you. If you do it for the money, well, good luck, you know. But yeah, Jordan, it's number one. Just been a pleasure making your acquaintance over the last couple of weeks. So good to see you at the hang. And thank you so much for coming to share some of your knowledge. Hey, folks, if you haven't got the scoop yet, here it is. How to succeed in Fringe theater. That link is in the description of this video. Get your heinies over to Amazon.com. Spend $20. I am Jordan Rooks on Instagram, and I am Doug Kahn from TrickSupply.com. Thank you all for hanging again, and thanks once more.
Thanks for having
Jordan,
me.
we'll see y'all next Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be ciao. Ciao for now, y'all. Au revoir.